Hello and welcome to another episode of the Truth About Real Estate Investing show. My name is Cito, where we talk to real people with real results, repeatable results, and we reference check our guests before they come on the show. Funny thing about reference checks is, as a benefit of being one of the old farts of the real estate investing community since about 2008 when I joined RAIN, and since then I've attended hundreds of other networking events, including masterminded with many of the top investors in Canada. I'm lucky to have many friends in our community. Hence, reference checking is very easy. It's often just one phone call away. Worst case, a text message away. Another benefit of being at my advanced age is I've seen many investors and investments come and go, including many who lost their shirts in 2009. Some no longer invest, some were able to persevere, and I share these lessons with our coaching clients. Yes, we have coaching clients at my team, the iWIN real estate team. We are licensed real estate professionals who provide coaching services to our clients in acquiring investment property. For all you budding realtors out there, I know there's many of you among our 17 listeners. Those of you who want to service real estate investors as clients, in my experience, the sooner a client is successful, and that usually means in renovating and or renting out their property, as soon as they have their tenant and rent coming in, the sooner they buy their next property and send referrals. It's just a good business practice to have a lot of successful investor clients. I remember back in 2008, during the financial crisis, when we were worried about the recession, major banks in the U.S. were going bankrupt, Bear Stearns and Morgan Stanley. And then the news got worse for us personally. A tenant in our duplex gave notice they were moving out. We were so concerned because this was early in our investing journey. I know you veterans are all laughing right now because you love tenant turnover these days. But back in those days, we didn't have any mentors. There were no podcasts. The internet was pretty weak in terms of getting information. We had no mentor, no coach. We had no veteran leadership to lean on. We thought we were in trouble, but we still went through the cycles. We posted our ad on Kijiji, and the interest just poured in. After a week of showings, we had 4 applications. 3 were crazy solid. Now, 4 applications doesn't sound like a lot, but understand we didn't really know what we were doing back then. So we actually made this novice move where we required a $200 cash or certified deposit of $200 to accompany a rental application, or otherwise we wouldn't review it. Sadly, we had to do away with this process because it became a pain to return money for declined applications. Come pick it up. Like, no, can't you just send it to me? Like, it's cash. I can't just send it to you. What we learned from this experience is that when people can't get a mortgage, such as 2008, 2009, as it was the credit crisis after all, plus a devastating crash in the stock markets, fear was at an all-time high. But at the same time, people still needed a roof over their heads, and and in our situation, our rent actually went up, and we had a better tenant, so we were better off for the tenant going away, giving us notice, and for the financial crisis in terms of owning a rental property. So yeah, in the end, fear was nothing. Lesson learned. Our biggest regret, my biggest regret from those days was we only actually bought one house during that recession, which and that also in that recession barely put a dent in the real estate market back then. These times are very different. Rates were still quite low at the time, and immigration was just so strong. We could buy back then. We're talking about 2008, 2009. We could buy a bungalow in those days for under $200,000 in our target markets, which now sell for well over $600,000, and that's even pre-pandemic. So remove all the pandemic pricing, remove all that volatility. Prices more than tripled. But keep in mind, we typically only put down 20%, so that would have been like a 15 times return on money in 10 years. I don't think that'll happen again, but I would take it gladly over the next 10 years if it happens again. Our strategy has survived that generation's recession, and we've only improved upon our investment practices since. And if this market keeps going down for the next 6 to 12 months, which it could, it might bounce back within 6 months, and we may hit bottom in 6 months. No matter what, I still welcome the opportunity to buy for cheaper prices, because to me, Canada and the Golden Horseshoe still offers us tremendous opportunity, and this may be our last and only opportunistic dip in the markets for this generation for the next 10 years. So if you want to buy on the dip, when economic winter is upon us, I believe at the time of recording this, we have a technical recession in the United States. And as such, I've asked all of our special guest speakers at the upcoming Wealth Hacker Conference on November 12th to be sharing all their best practices on how to weather storms. And if you speak to any of them, they're all ready to buy in the dip. No different than our clients. Wealthhacker.ca, November 12th for details at the Toronto Congress Centre. Live and in person only. So that's near the airport, plenty of free parking. For our stock expert, for example, Derek Foster, he's net positive on the year. Stock market's down about 20%, I think, on the year. Even I think Apple is down more than 17% this year. Whoever thought Apple would go down? But so some great companies are down on the year. Derek Foster, as an investor, is positive on the year, if you can believe it. He's also reduced more of his holdings to cash, and he's waiting for the bottom to back up the truck and buy more boring stocks. When I had Derek as a guest speaker at one of our Stock Hacker meetings back in mid 2020, Derek shared with us his picks, which were, this is advice, folks, and I'm stating history. This is back mid 2020. So his picks don't mean merely the same thing as they do today as they did back then, right after the pandemic crash. But Derek's picks were, well, he basically nailed it. He was picking companies like Suncor, Enbridge, Berkshire Hathaway, Disney, etc. And I can't wait to put some of my cash back to work and build me another stock hacking stream, another six-figure stream via stock hacking. If you follow along with Cherry and I, we'll be talking more about it, we're looking to increase our passive income. And in terms of passive income, I mean cash. I want more dividends in my life. Just like Tim Collins on last week's episode. If you didn't hear that, Tim Collins generates over $10,000 a month in dividends a month. I think we could all use more cash in our pockets each month. Anyways, Dalia Barsoum of Streetwise Mortgages is an author. She's a financial wizard and has a brand new presentation to detail a beginner to advanced investor's journey in order to maximize mortgageability, and of course, this journey would weather an economic storm like the one we're in. More importantly, just as importantly, maximize mortgageability. Jordan Anderson, Chief Operating Officer at BitBuy, Canada's largest and first registered crypto exchange. Jordan tells me that he'd rather buy cryptos on the dip than an investment property. We're on completely different ends of the spectrum. Obviously, we have different expertise and different education and different comfort levels. My opinion on crypto and blockchain is I can't deny the future, including decentralized finance. And I want more education on the subject. And I can't honestly find someone better to teach this subject than Jordan Anderson. He is an absolute leading expert in the Canadian crypto and blockchain space. And OS, we have much more at wealthhacker.ca. Of course, Cherry and I will be speaking. We'll be talking about our insurance investments as well as something that's all new in terms of retirement planning. Something we've never spoken about before, but it's something we're spending more time thinking about and planning for ever since this lovely pandemic. Anyways, so details at wealthhacker.ca. My discount code for you is a 5-letter word: truth. I want you to have the truth, where the world is going, what the experts are investing their own money in, and when. The when is almost just as important, and how to avoid financial devastation. If you want to learn all these things, Wealth Hacker Conference is for you. Now, on to a personal level. Cherry and I had our first quarterly meeting, one-on-one, no personal electronics or screen time, with the most important stakeholders, investment partners, business partners in our lives. Our kids, Robin and Bruce. They're 8 and 7 years old, respectively. At Robin's request, Cherry took Robin to a pottery class, followed by a manicure and pedicure. Thank goodness that wasn't me. I don't like people touching my feet. At Bruce's request, I took him to a video arcade called Dave & Buster's, followed by virtual golf. I don't think we got it right, as I failed to budget enough time for dinner and for us to chit-chat, as we didn't end up eating dinner until around 8:30 p.m. So it was like rush, right before bedtime. But done is better than not done. We'll get it right next time. As in, allow time for a proper sit-down dinner, just us two to chit-chat. The kids had a blast and can't wait for the next quarterly meeting. Obviously, we have to do each kid each quarter, so it'll be minimum two nights for me each quarter. Same with Cherry. Robin has requested that I take her to Legoland, as she's never been. The one in Vaughan Mills, of course, not the one in Orlando, I think it is. And that's what we'll do. It's her choice what we do. For me, putting my phone away is difficult, as I'm a serial multitasker, and my phone is my is, I don't know. Remember the term crackberry when people refer to blackberries? Yeah, my phone is like my crack. But quality time with the kids, while they still want to hang out with us, is short. So we're going to try to maximize this time. A good friend of mine actually warned me that his 12-year-old daughter flipped like a switch the day she turned 12. Not the exact day, but you know what I mean. She refuses to be seen in public with him, and he shared with me how their text message exchanges consist of daughter asking him for money to go to Starbucks with her friends. I'm not looking forward to that. If you'd like to do some reading on this subject around more quality time with the kids, I recommend the book. I just finished it this morning, The Family Board Meeting by Jim Shields. See, if I read the book first before I did the board meeting with my son, we would have likely gotten it right. But, nothing's perfect. Perfection is the enemy of getting stuff done. Ready, fire, aim. Sorry again, the book is called Family Board Meetings by Jim Shields. I have a link in the show notes. Jim also happens to be an extremely successful real estate investor in Florida. Hopefully he's okay with Hurricane Ian. I believe he is, because I believe he's on the east side. Once the conference is over, I look forward to booking more quarterly meetings, one each with my mom, my dad, brother, and sister as well. Dates night, maybe we'll get back to date nights as well with Cherry. Enough from me. Onto this week's show. On our market update that we had 2 weeks ago with Coach Tammy D. Tommaso was a hit. Based on the downloads, Tammy's D. Tommasos were right there with some of our ultra successful full-time real estate investors on the show. As an FYI to our 17 listeners, I know we do have a lot of the big-time investors on this show. However, understand, in my experience, the vast majority of real estate investors are investing as a side hustle. Over 90% of my millionaire real estate investor clients are side hustlers in real estate. They all have daytime jobs that they still have. The truth about real estate is that folks who do make a full-time career as an investor is a small minority. And for those who got in more recently, a lot of them are no longer. It's really sad. This market has not done good things to people that were over-leveraged. I remember asking a mortgage broker friend of mine. He focuses on real estate investors, and he told me that maybe 1% of real estate investors reach 10 or more properties. That number has gone up a lot since then, but my point is, do what's right for you. No need to compare yourself to others with hundreds of doors. The other truth is several investors are in financial distress right now. And also understand that's not my context. I'm hearing this from other mortgage brokers and lawyers outside that deal with people outside of my client circle. They're having challenges executing their flips or their burrs, or they over leveraged, or they simply speculated and can no longer afford whatever negative cash flows they were planning for with these now current interest rates, and also with the market prices falling. In my experience, boring cash flowing starter homes is the bread and butter, and it's been our bread and butter since our team started in 2010. It's worked out well. It's faring well in this current economic winter. Starter homes, we've obviously evolved our strategy. We've taken starter homes now to to force appreciation via renovations to increase cash flow, such as basement suite apartments, or we used to do a lot more student rentals before basement apartments were legalized. And all these strategies work pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. And it's all working in a declining market as well. Hence, we have Coach Stephen Phillips here to talk to us today about investing in the areas east of the GTA, and what in terms of deals and numbers behind the properties investors are buying right now in today's market. That makes sense. So in the show notes, I actually have screen captures of property analyzer spreadsheets So if you want to see the details, the numbers and the calculations behind the properties we discussed today, go to the show notes, truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca, or if you're on my email list, it'll show up right in your inbox, so you don't have to go searching for it. If you don't know Steve, he's a member of my team. He's a licensed realtor. He has a ton of real estate experience, having owned and operated a kitchen and countertop business. His stuff was so nice that they caught the attention of HGTV's Scott McGillivray, and his Stephen's business was part of over 20 episodes on Scott's shows. So Stephen wasn't necessarily in all the shows, but his business and his products were on the show. Steve grew up in the Durham area, which is east of the Greater Toronto area, and now focuses on the areas east from Oshawa to Kingston, but primarily the sweet spot of Belleville. Understand why we're in Belleville. A lot of the smart money that I know personally in Oshawa, they're in Belleville as well. So follow the smart money. It's never a bad idea. The most common request we receive from new clients is, quote unquote, I want a deal. So as a service to you 17 listeners, we're here to provide you context into what a deal looks like. So please have your pens and paper ready, spreadsheets ready, have a look at the show notes, as we're going to talk to current opportunities and the analysis behind them on today's show. Hey Steve, what's keeping you busy these days?
Oh, in this real estate market, a lot of things are keeping me busy right now. So yeah, projects, clients, things that are on the go, people, kids back to school, lots of things.
Should have mouthful there.
Yeah.
So we're recording this mid-September, but what surprised me was how busy we were in August. Because I actually forecasted a very quiet August. Like all of us were off for a week or two. Everyone on the team, including yourself.
Yes.
But investors were busy.
Yeah, they were busy. We had, I know, like out our way in Belleville, I did a fair amount of deals with our clients towards the front end of August, last weeks of July. A lot of those kind of closed out right around that midpoint. And then investors kept contacting, but there was also the waiting for September's announcement kind of out there. So there's some people that were trying to get in before the announcement, and some people just kind of hesitating and waiting until they heard the announcement. So I took advantage.
We're talking about the interest rate announcement from Bank of Canada.
The interest rate announcement, I took advantage and went out to Nova Scotia for a couple of weeks with my family because we haven't been in multiple years to see family. And then came right back into it, and September's picking up right where mid-August left off. Doesn't seem like we missed a beat on that.
Yes. Again, I'm surprised. Again, after 2 years of lockdown, I thought people are vacationing hard. You live in a vacation area.
I live in a vacation.
How hard people are going.
Yeah, but surprisingly, you say that, and I would agree. We do have a ton of tourism here with Prince Edward County. But I don't know, it's anecdotal, but it just kind of felt a little slower this year with some of our tourism. I think a lot of people took advantage of being able to leave the country. So I think that kind of changed things. There's definitely a lot of tourists here, like no doubt. But, during COVID, like when there was a lockdown and you couldn't, like many people couldn't leave the country, right. We were like inundated. It felt like you couldn't even move on the streets here. Right. It wasn't like that this summer. Okay. So
if that was your baseline, when you could not leave the country, that's not a fair baseline. Because when I was in Belleville, because we did the tour, and it was August, right? Early August? We did the tour in Belleville?
It was August.
When I was in Belleville, like every hotel was packed. The hotel I stayed at was packed. Dude, definitely. Don't you remember? We stayed in the very last Airbnb in all of town.
The shack that claimed Tammy. Yeah, it's it's definitely tough
for listeners' benefit. Because somebody waited, not me, not Steve. Somebody waited till the last minute to book our accommodation in Prince Edward County. So we got the very last Airbnb that was available, and it was, I don't know, what year do you think that was built in?
At least the 30s. It was pretty bad.
So a 90-year-old house.
No, the house built by hand. That's the thing. There was a nice house, and there was a nice guest house, and then there was the shack, which I think was the original house that the family had moved
Yeah.
and upgraded every
Which
year
did
since. So
which
yeah.
which didn't help things because for to paint a picture for the listener, it was a beautiful like 3,500 square foot house with a pool attached to it, built within like 5 years. Like beautiful house where the owners currently live, and then next to it was the second house that was built on the property, which was not fun, like pretty typical starter home for most suburbs. But no, but they rent out that
Yeah.
property. But that's not where we were staying. We were staying in what they call the shack, and we paid over $400 for the night for it. And it was a little 1.5
Yeah.
story, and I believe that house was hand built. I don't even think it was no, it was tiny. 300 square feet.
It was still logs. Yeah. If it would, yeah, maybe.
So
It was very small and very, very, very rustic.
right. So for yes, rustic.
Rustic.
So for any short term investors out there, we paid for over 400 a night for that place. It was embarrassing.
Yeah. The county's crazy. Yeah, the county's crazy. I mean, and so there's not a lot, like everybody's heard about Prince Edward County. There's not a lot of hotels here. That's kind of the thing. There's not a lot of growth. So not a lot of growth in hotels. I think there's limiting variables as to why there's not a lot of hotels here, but it's hard to build hotels here. So you've got the Drake Devonshire, which is a beautiful hotel, but limited in room size. You have the Royal, which just got built in Picton, 28 rooms or something like that. Like it's very limited in room size. Yeah, like beautiful boutique hotels, but the word boutique has to be added to all the hotels, right? Like it's not big. And so that's why there's so many Airbnbs, right? And they fill the void. But when they're all booked up, the overflow lands in Belleville because it's about 35-40 minute drive from the bottom of the county, or at least the popular part of the county, up to Belleville. So that's why your hotels were all booked. And yeah, it's a hard place to come and stay in the summertime.
And just as
without a plan.
As an outside observation, the whole area has like a feel of Niagara on the Lake to me, because you actually have wineries there. You actually took us to dine on at a winery, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we've got a few out here. Yeah, there's lots of things to do. I think there's, definitely Niagara came first, and then the county has kind of tried to do their part to stand apart and yet follow. And so yeah, there's definitely signals and signs of both. But it is its own thing out here. The county is its own beast. It is it's an interesting place. Very interesting place.
Yes. Niagara East, I would call it. All right. So we're not talking about wine, though. We're not here to talk about wine, because investors are buying. And what I want to accomplish with having you on, being an expert of the areas east of GTA, is what are investors buying? Because I think there's tons of fear out there. Some of it warranted, some not. If you're in this for the 5-10 year term, like you and I are, we're looking for opportunity. But a lot of investors don't know what a deal looks like. So what are investors buying today?
What a deal looks like. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I think if you're looking at it, it's always a different thing. And I mean, when we're having these conversations, I have a lot of conversations with investors. A lot of them are new investors. I think it's key to first figure out what their time horizon is, because that's a better way to identify what a deal is.
Yeah, you're looking for flip? Oh boy, this is not the time.
Yeah, well, you better be good at them, right? Like it's not the time for a rookie flipper, that's for sure. We have a couple.
You better be good on the tools yourself.
You better be good. Yeah, there's no contractor, so like you better be good at something to do with that. And you got to buy right, very much right now. I'm finding that I have a couple clients that are flip clients. They're very, very experienced flip clients. They're not like newbies. They're very, very experienced. They know what they're doing. For them, they're just looking for absolute best price right now, because they need to pretend, or at least project what the property will be worth in 90 days. And there's no crystal ball that's telling anybody that right now. So you have to be uber conservative on your numbers, and then try to buffer in as much of a safety as you can. So also, just as a sidebar to that, they're also always looking to make sure they have a backup plan. What is the rent on this property? If I can't dump it, if I can't get it back in the market in time to sell it, what's it going to rent for? And am I willing to carry that burden until the market comes back to where it should be, and I can start to move and prices kind of bottom and start to climb again. So yeah, I think those flippers are definitely out there, but they're very much not for it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for anybody this is not television flip shows. This is like professionals. And so if you're not that guy, be careful.
Right. So I would say, and I've spoken to many investors as well, and mortgage people and lawyers, this seems more of a type of buy and hold time, a time to be buying for a hold for the long term.
Of course. Like, I think you're absolutely right. I think all those people are right, because like ultimately, if you buy a product and that product goes on sale and you don't know how long the sale's going to last, you should try to get as much of that product as you can afford, to get you ready for when the prices aren't that way anymore. And so this is a great time to kind of stock up on your inventory of good opportunities. Even if the property is not going to be renovated right away, stock up on it now and get yourself ready for down the line. So I have some people that are looking at properties that are finished and have garden suite potential. They're not duplexed yet. They're still single family residentials. But for the time being right now, they'll cash flow neutral. And yet they have the option and the potential of a garden suite add-on in the spring or in, maybe 6 to 8 months from now. And then that will take them to a positive cash flow position. It just depends on what people are looking for right now.
So what are our clients buying right now? Can you tell us a bit about them?
Our clients are buying those. I think the last few deals that I've been doing have actually been kind of couple duplex conversions have gone through. I have one that just sold that we just closed on 2 weeks ago, end of August, for a duplex or a 2-unit property that was already vacant possession, no renovations needed. Take the property over and get it rented.
Fabulous.
Yeah. If you can find those right now, like, they're great. I think the whole key to that deal was to make sure we had vacant possession, and then making sure that we could set the rents, because rents are increasing. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it numerous times. I've seen it just on a couple of weeks ago. Rents are increasing significantly. And so we want to try to get our rents established to today's values, because a year from now, they may still be low. So we need to get them set as best as possible. And so that's the advantage of that deal there, of getting vacant possession.
Oh, sorry, before we move on, what's a turnkey duplex go for these days?
So there's a very interesting question. There are, so I was just on a deal.
There could be really big, nice duplexes. There could be rundown duplexes.
Absolutely, that's always in the wheelhouse. And there's also the variable of time. So the property that we did with our client was towards the first or the end of July into August. That price point, I don't necessarily know if that's still the same price point right now for some of the duplexes of that size. It's a bit bigger than some of the other ones, but I'm seeing duplexes starting to come down to the mid to low 4s, which is significantly lower than even at the end of July. So the one that we picked up early in the year early in the month, was closer to the high 5s, just under 6. When we ran all of our numbers on that property, it was still in a cash flow positive position. There was no investment required other than the down payment. The property management was coming in around $200 to manage the duplex. It was a 2-bedroom on the main floor and a 1-bedroom upstairs. The 2 bedrooms are probably going to rent, or it should rent, somewhere around $2,000 a month. Everything was split. So, not everything. The water had its water and gas was included in the rents, and the hydro was additional. So 2,000, we were going to bump in another 100 or change for the split of those utilities. So call it 2,150 for the 2-bedroom, and the 1-bedroom was somewhere around 1,800 to 1,900.
Whoa, wait, what? That's a lot.
It's a lot. It was a nice 1-bedroom, and it was lofted up in the top, and it was pretty isolated. Could be, as I'm also adding in those utilities. The base rent of that would be $1,650, and then we're adding in the cost of those utilities to the rent as well. So, which kind of pulls it up to that 1,800 number. But yeah, 1650.
That's a lot for a one bedroom. 1,800 for
There's
plus
no
tax, plus
value. So we have
utilities.
no vacancies. We have no vacancies here. We have no vacancies anywhere. The rental supply is very, very low. I think that for anything of good quality that's close to transit lines, the prices have gone up. I think those rents were somewhere around 14 to 1,500 this time last year, and they've gone up.
Okay, so hang on. So this one that we're talking about, how much did you pay for this property that's 2 bed up, 1 bed down?
590.
Okay, so I'm just gonna run some numbers. I'm like the worst Asian at math. I have my calculator out. So
Shouldn't say those things.
2,000 plus 1,800 times 12. So like my annual rent is 45,600 divided by 590. Wow, that's almost 8%. If it was inclusive, you'd be, getting close to 9%.
Yeah. And so property tax. So here's another thing on a property like that. The property tax for that property is $2,300. So you have low expenses, low costs on a lot of your carry costs. And then your rents are still creeping up into those numbers. Now we're renting that property right now. So the market itself is going to tell me how wrong I am or how right I am. But
if
I
you have no
think
vacancy,
we have zero vacancy. There's really, there's not a lot. I know room rentals right now. So let's take a room rental, for example. The room rental rate here, I know of a guy that was one of the realtors who has a border house. I guess you could call it a boarding house. He was getting $850 a room on just a room rental in a boarding house that was quite undesirable. So,
sorry, Steve, just to pause you there for listeners' benefit. A boarding house can be a typical example is like a student rental. A proper one is usually licensed. Each room is treated like almost like a separate unit, so there's fire safety for each of the bedrooms. It could be self-closing door, it could be fire-rated drywall between all the units and the flooring and the ceiling, all that sorts of things. So it's all highly regulated, like probably at least annual fire inspection, stuff like that. That would be a proper boarding house. $850 a room, and it's not so nice.
Yeah. And like, who's renting that, right? For the most part, what we're getting, who's renting those type of situations are either working in the military and are only here a couple of days out of a week, 3 or 4 days a week. And then they live back maybe in Quebec or something like that, where their actual family is.
That's a pretty good tenant.
Yeah, like they're great tenants. And then some other ones are contractors. So just sub out job as a contractor or somebody working for a utility company or something like that. They're not here consistently. They're just here to do their job and then they go home. They tend to be the renters that are looking for those boarding houses, right? Like room rentals. No, you do have students here. Student rentals, I know right now are going around $750 a room for like the student rental population.
That was cheap for a market with no vacancy.
With no vacancy, and yet they're all like hungry looking for units. So like it's just very much there's no inventory. There's no inventory. So I like put the sign up, market it, see what shows up and see what you get, and then pick the best quality. If you pick a better quality tenant and you got to take $100 off your cash flow, but you're getting quality, maybe you do that. But market will tell where we're at.
So sorry, Steve, I want to finish up your 590K. Would you do me a solid and send me the spreadsheet, and then I can include a link to the show notes so folks can have a look if they want it. So for those folks, if you're driving, don't worry. The spreadsheet will be in the show notes, at least a PDF or something like that, so you can see the numbers. Sure. So yeah, again, but again, these numbers are great.
They're not bad, and again, we're looking at a property that at that purchase price right now. I don't see a lot of the properties selling at that purchase price right now. But for my client, I mean, that was the market we were in when we made that deal. That was everything where it was right on line, and the number still worked. And so moving forward, we're going to keep moving on to the next one, get this one locked up, get it rented, see where the market rents come in, and then adjust.
Even in my experience, the contractors, it's hard to get a contractor, and prices are still going up. So they bought turnkey, which in my opinion is a good thing in this market because it's so hard to get contractors now.
I agree 100%. So we'll get into maybe
cash flowing day one. You're basically cash flowing almost immediately. You don't have to carry the darn thing and worry about it. and deal with the renovation,
Yeah.
the significant renovation.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the next property that, on that note, we just had a property close yesterday, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was one that was on our tour when we were here in Belleville.
Mm-hmm.
That property we ended up picking up for $430,000. This is a standard 449.
Got it under asking with conditions, right?
Yes. 3 conditions in the end. Yeah.
3 conditions.
I work appraisal conditions into my clauses right now because those prices are slipping. And if I go back to my first client, like the first client that we talked about, we had an appraisal condition in there. So yes, the prices were higher when we purchased, but we had our appraisal done the day before we waived our condition. So we knew that the appraisal was already in. We knew the file was closed. We knew everything was going to work, and we moved forward with it, and it closed X amount of days later. This one, we did the same thing, quicker close. So the appraisal really didn't matter, and we got it well under value. So we were good, but 430.
Right. Excellent. And then what's the renovation budget going to be?
So this is where it gets interesting. This particular client is also a carpenter. And so he gets to take care of a lot of the things himself. His budget's going to be somewhere around 100K because he's really delegating very little, just the things he doesn't actually do, plumbing, electrical, things like that, HVAC, things like that.
This is why I think it's wonderful for young people to get into trades, because I've just seen so many people who are good at trades become very good real estate investors.
This person he's younger than me, and he is quite smart, quite savvy. And I would encourage the same thing. If you're a young person who's ambitious, get as many skills as you possibly can get, because it'll just protect you. And like, even if you delegate out to a contractor and that contractor is doing the work for you, if that guy or that girl messes up anywhere, or they're slow, or they slow down, or they disappear, you can jump in and finish. So you're never at this moment where you're dependent on anybody. You have a level of independence. And so even that is a huge benefit. So
fantastic. Okay. So 430 buy, 100K reno budget.
Yeah.
What are they renovating? A kitchen or two? A whole
so we're doing a duplex. Yeah, we're doing a duplex on that property, full basement reno and duplex. And then the upper floor, we're taking the kitchen from its existing place and kind of moving it half a room over and giving it a little bit more space.
Excuse me, you're moving the kitchen over. Okay, so this is pretty significant.
It is, but it's, if you see the layout, I'm going to show this at our upcoming meeting. The layout is pretty conducive for this move. Actually, it's not too intensive, and it works out because the client's a carpenter. It's not as intensive as it may have be for some other people. So it's not that big of a deal. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love efficient use of real estate. I love efficient use of anything.
Yeah, we had a room. We had 2 living rooms. Essentially, we had a front living room and a back living room. And then this tiny little kitchen in the middle that you zigzag through to get to the back living room, which was an addition that was put onto the property. So why have a little tiny kitchen that doesn't make any sense and have 2 living rooms? So the client is looking to move that into the back and make it a kitchen, and then have a proper kitchen, and then actually use the old kitchen for his laundry and his storage. Going to convert that space properly. So,
Stephen, I forgot to ask, how many square feet is this house?
Ooh.
Sounds big if there's 2 living rooms.
It was, the addition's throwing me off. I would say it's like a standard bungalow, like larger size, 1,200. You walk through it, but that was the second one we went through. But yeah, I hesitate to say an exact number. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a larger bungalow. But it's a traditional bungalow, so like 3 bedrooms up, 1 bath, and then the kitchen, the living room, and then the basement.
So you got a house for like around $360 a square foot, and that's before counting for the basement.
Yeah. And then like the rent's there. When he's done with that,
let's let that sink in there for a second. For all these people who buy condos,
Yeah.
360 a
Yeah.
square foot. You
As
can't
opposed to your
build anything for that
1600.
price.
That's right.
You cannot, and this came with the land, folks. You can't build anything for this price. So
Let's talk about the land.
we before we get there, but you know, buying for less than replacement value is a nice thing to do. It's a good it's a good investment criteria. I think we're getting that here. You can't build this
Yeah.
house. Like if you minus the land, I don't know, what do you think a lot's worth? 100 grand?
You know what? It's hard to say out here. I've seen some of them going a lot higher. Call it 150, 180, kind of
150? Okay, so
conservatively.
430
Maybe
grand,
150.
less
No, it's a
150
nice
for the
side of
lot.
town. Big lot.
So you're saying the building's worth about 280, 1,200 square feet. So it's $233 a square
I
foot
think the
is what you
market's
bought,
telling us that. Yeah.
right? Plus basement. So 233 a square.
Yeah, when you start
You
putting it
cannot
that way,
build
you're
it.
making me nervous. Like I'm doing the math wrong. Yeah, no, it is though.
You can't build
I
this,
don't see how you could build this house. No, I don't
right?
see that. And I think that's a common thing that is part of the deals that I'm looking at right now. A lot of the deals that we're looking at,
Yeah.
I don't think, even if you had to gut the entire thing inside, it's hard to build it back up at the price you're buying it for. I can't imagine.
So I'd argue this is looking good so far.
Yeah, I like this deal. I'm really excited about this deal.
Well, it's a big lot, right? All the
It's a
lots in
huge
Belleville are
lot.
huge. How
They
big
were
is it?
huge, right?
What's the
I
dimension?
don't have it offhand. I think it was 50 and change by 140. Let me pull some stuff. It was a doozy of a lot. We walked it. So anybody who was on our tour will know that lot was good. If you want to come and see the numbers, we'll be showing them on Saturday. But yeah, the lot was beautiful and garden suite potential. So the thing about Belleville, just if you're not aware, we can do garden suites in Belleville, but they fall under our accessory apartment or accessory dwelling bylaw. So you can't do both the duplex bungalow and the garden suite yet because of our density is too low yet. Like we haven't gone through enough properties. So what clients are doing is finding properties that have potential for garden suite for future use. This could be added down the line, and or rent the entire single family home in the meantime, and then put the garden suite in the back as the next step. So this particular property, client's going to do the basement first, but there is more than enough room in the back to put a garden suite down the line. That'll be 2 bedrooms and at that, another 800, 900 square feet easy.
I love real estate with options. Like I know you're really not a fan of condos. For folks who don't understand where George, Steve's been on the podcast before back in April, so if you want to hear about his rant about condos, it's all there. If you want Steve's full story as well, it's all in the April episode. But for now, we're just going to focus on deals. But yeah, I love real estate with options because if the property has options, and we saw it, we've seen it before. If a house can have a basement suite, it doesn't have to have one. Just the fact if it has the ceiling height and the zoning for a basement suite, those houses sell more than the equivalent house that does not have those things, right? So again, I want the house with options because I know it's worth more. Even if I don't do the work, even if I never build a garden suite, I know my property is worth more because it can support one.
I also think, and on like piggybacking onto that that statement, like it's very true. I also think that your listeners and our clients, I mean, not to be too presumptuous, they're quite advanced compared to the regular market, right? It's not everybody looking at real estate is even thinking about future use of garden suite. So when you're using that knowledge and you're buying with that, you kind of also have to bolt onto that you're way ahead of the curve. So you may not see or realize that potential value until X amount of years down the line. That's okay. You were in early, right? So like if you buy the property today and you turn around and go, yeah, but I could put a garden suite on it and nobody else cares, don't worry. It's good that you know it because you're ahead of the curve. They're all going to catch up to you. It's just a matter of time before they realize why that was important that you did that.
Fantastic. And then what do you think, what's the property going to be done once the duplex going to be when it's done? 3-bedroom up?
3-bedroom up, 2 bedrooms down. There's a requirement in Belleville to only do 2 bedrooms in the basement. So that's fine. Um, we've put in pretty like conservative rents, I think, for what I've seen a lot of new build duplexes like this getting. But upstairs, we've got it in at 2,200, 2,250 plus utilities. And then downstairs, looking at again around 1,800 plus utilities. It'll be separate, everything, because it's new build. Again,
Nice.
property management in the area is about $200 for the duplex. I've got 100 grand in there. I'll send you the spreadsheets when we're done. But basically, when I run through everything through our calculator, it's just over $1,000 a month of cash flow.
Okay, wow. You're gonna get $4,000 rent a month. Okay, $4,000 rent a month times 12 months, 48,000 a year. Oh my lord. You're all well. This, for listeners' benefit, this is special since the investors doing the renovation themselves.
It's an anomaly. Yeah. But even then, it takes out of the outflow of capital, right? So it's taking the original capital expense down, but it doesn't affect the original buy too much. So yeah, I think it's a good one.
But
there's a couple other little anomalies in here that are interesting, but we'll save that for Saturday.
But still, numbers like the rent is 9% of purchase price plus renos. Like that's phenomenal, and the tenant pays all the utilities since you're able to split them.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking for like social proof, we have a mutual person that we know out here in Belleville doing some deals, and like it's all over Instagram what they're getting on their rents. Like it's I'm not, I'm not making them up. They're kind of being advertised here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before we move on to property number 3, how important is it to have team? How important is it to have contractor and property management contacts?
Okay, so
and relationships.
It's very, very important. The contractor aspect of here it's complicated. It's very complicated to get, like, in the sense that there is a waiting period for a lot of our good contractors here. They're not just ready tomorrow to start your renovation. They're not ready to start anybody's renovation, right? But as far as property management is concerned, we have that locked in. They're ready to go tomorrow. Sign them up. They'll send you the contract. Everything's good to go. As far as, general assistance with drafting and documents and paperwork and city dealing with, all of that's under control. You just, when I'm dealing with my clients, I'm trying to prepare them for what strategy we can use to kind of wait until the contractors are available. So this is based on the individual investor's kind of background, understanding, thresholds, where are they at with financial, can they hold a property and pay the bills and float it while we wait? If not, then we may be looking at, we're looking at turnkey, or we're looking at a property. So what is a single family renting for right now? For the most part, you cannot find anything renting under $2,400 a month plus utilities, pretty much any house. So, that's a pretty good start. If we've got, now I have another property that I was just looking at with a client who is entertaining this property because it's very interesting. It's a 60 by 220 foot lot inside the city, like inside right on the transit lines and everything, which is a big lot there. And the property
is a big lot anywhere, Steve. Sorry.
Valid. I live out here. There's a lot of big lots. I'm talking about like 2 and 3, 4 acre lots everywhere. But so anyhow, this property has just recently been flipped. The inside of the home is immaculate. It's been done amazing, but the flipper is flipped into the wrong part of the market, and it needs to get rid of this property. It will sell in the high 4s. It has future use of a massive garden suite in the back, no problem. This property is one of those type of deals where you can rent that right now. It is in the same quality as new construction. You're probably going to get closer to 2,800 plus utilities for a property like this, 3-bedroom, 1 bath upstairs, full house. So that property, although not cash flowing a significant amount of money right off the bat, does put you in a position where you've got a very well finished house, turnkey, ready to go while you set up for your garden suite in the back. So things like that are options for people that they're starting to entertain.
Right. Well, they have rental income coming in right away. There's something to be said for that.
it's not costing them $3,000 or $2,000 a month in carrying costs while they wait for contractors. So gives them a bit of options.
Yeah. So again, to each their own. I don't really think there's bad investments. But again, for some people that might help them sleep at night, knowing that the property's already tenanted right away and doesn't need anything.
But go to like, it doesn't need anything, and it's done very well. And then go to like the first part of our conversation where you are buying a 60 by 220 foot lot in the 400s with a house on it. Like those type of things are also should be valued. Like it's hard to find something like that. 6 months ago in February or whatever it was, we were killing for deals like this. So they're all still good deals. They just interest rates are higher. That's all.
Isn't the flipper going to take a bath on this if they sell it in the 400s?
Yeah, this goes back to dangerous times to be a flipper.
Steve, I'm sure people are going to be looking for this. Where can they reach out to you if they're interested in looking at property in Belleville and surrounding areas?
So we send them
just to clarify that, folks, like Steve, we're talking about Belleville now, but Steve goes from like Kingston to Oshawa. So
the deals are going into different markets. Like I have people starting to look at different markets like Coburg, which is a nice growing market, and values are going to jump much higher there. So there's different markets along that corridor, the 401 corridor. But particularly right now we're talking about Belleville deals. But yeah, Instagram, I guess, is the most conventional way people reach out to me.
Funny how the world has changed.
Yeah, email, but I don't know. You sometimes block giving out emails on these podcasts.
I just worry because again, internet's forever. Internet's forever. At least Instagram, you can always say bye to it. Your email is hard to say bye to.
You know what? If you reach out to our team at iWIN, they'll put you in touch with me pretty quickly. I think everybody on our team connects to me pretty fast, so we can help you either way.
Stephen Phillips on Instagram, or the handle is iWIN_on_the_east side. I'll have the link in the show notes, folks. All right. Oh, now was property three that we're talking about? The flipped product? And how's the
Sorry, I missed the question.
How is the workmanship on this flipped product, on this flipped house?
Man, it was good. It was actually a very good finished product. Like I'm harsh, just like, the rest of our team is. I'm pretty harsh on the contractors.
Because you have extensive home renovation background, so you know what workmanship is supposed to look like. And that should be gauged as well. How I want my renos renovated is different than how I want my home renovated. So I have different standards, right? So I don't need and
it's to a certain degree, and I'm not. Yeah, I know I have a gauge of what is in line with what it should be, and it was good. It was a good quality product. I was happy with it. So I think that's definitely an interesting phenomenon. There seems to be a few of them out there. These flip properties, more and more are coming online, and they're in a position on the price point where they're kind of a little out of reach still for the first time home buyer. And they're a little, they're in a weird zone. They kind of hit this weird place. And so there's something to be taken advantage of from the investor point of view, if they have what they need. It doesn't work for everyone, but if they have the lot or they have something, it could be very appealing.
How much are they asking?
I'm going to hold that to myself. Let them contact me to find out, because it may give too many hints and I'll lose my lead.
Man of mystery. I like it. Or be there at the iWIN meeting.
Be at the iWIN meeting. The purchase price is definitely, that I'm proposing, is definitely lower than the list price.
I feel sorry for the flipper, but you can feel sorry for the flipper, but I was talking to a flipper yesterday, a pretty big one. I think he was sharing that they're going to take like a $30,000 hit on the current deal, but they made tons of money the last couple of years. Like, they're professionals. So, it sucks to lose money, yes, on a deal, but you can't just look at one deal. You have to look at the whole picture, right?
I think that's the biggest mistake I see young investors or newbie investors look at, is they get obsessed on the one and right in front of them. And the guys that I've met that are very long-term minded, they know that it's a long game, And you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You try to win more than you lose. And for the most part, you don't take massive risks. But if things don't always work out the way you planned it, don't let it ruin your life and your business. Just keep moving on. You adjust and you move on to the next thing, right? It's about that. And so the pros tend to like look at those scenarios, like these type of choppy waters, part of the game. Like it's just part of the game. And they're going to get a lot of good buying opportunities right now that hopefully they'll make up for any loss that they're taking right now next year when the buys kind of cycle back out and they make some money. So it's hard to feel bad. You play the game, you live the game, die the game, I guess.
Yeah, I think folks have to understand like the consistency of success in real estate is very high, unlike general entrepreneurship, small businesses. So I'll just leave it at that. All right. Yeah. Awesome, Steve. Thanks for sharing.
No problem.
Is there another property to talk about? We're good.
Let's put it this way. We'll leave a teaser. I have another property that I'll be talking about at the iWIN meeting. If you're interested, you can come on out. We've got a couple more to go through. And some of the deals that we're looking at right now, we're going to be covering on Saturday on the iWIN meetings as well. So come and have a look because there are a couple properties that we're targeting and watching and keeping our eye on.
Or just reach out to Steve if you're open-minded and nice.
Please, nice people. My wife has a sign at our building that says, "Be nice or go home." We tend to follow that rule. Be nice and go home. Be nice. But yeah, generally that's the way it goes.
Amazing. See, these are like that flip property you're talking about. I don't even know how much you could spend in Hamilton to get that kind of rent. It'd be over 700,000. It might be over 800,000 to get that right kind of rent dollar. But amazing. All right, Steve, thanks for sharing. And again, the whole point of this was so folks could get a taste of what investors are buying today and the deals we're looking at. Because if you're not in the business like we are, I don't know how you know. And context is everything. Would you agree, Steve?
Context, yes. Context is everything. Get the whole story about the market. Don't just follow the main narrative because the main narrative is guiding you a certain way. And when you start to go into the trenches and look and see and find details, you'll figure out that the main narrative may not be what you believe.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And we're not saying that our deals are the best you can absolutely do. I'm sure some people can do better, but you're probably going to work a lot harder to find them.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Thanks, Steve. Any final words?
Thank you. I don't know. Nothing compelling. Just people get out there and do something. I mean, take action. It's a lot easier when this moment passes. Whenever this moment passes, people will look back at this opportunity and they will surely call us and say, "I should have bought then." And at that moment is the moment where my empathy for "you should have bought then" is gone because we were here and we were working with other people, helping them. So let's, take action, get out there, see property, and then figure it out.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks. See ya.